Welcome once again to 720 and 720. I'm John Schulman, and we once again have a great guest to hopefully help young coaches. And we've got Brian Benator, and I will kind of introduce Brian in a second, but Brian's a former assistant of mine. But Brian's going to talk about, the keys of being a great assistant coach. He has grinded and come up the hard way. But Brian Benator, welcome to 720 and 720.
Coach Schulman, appreciate you having me. Always good to talk to you.
Well, listen, all right, so Brian was at North Georgia. He was at Chattanooga with me, how long were you with, 2 years?
3 years, 09 to 12. 09 to 12.
All right, so Brian was with 3 years with me. It was the greatest 3-year stint of my life and my career, my family's life. And then he was at Fishburne Military, eating good Chinese food up there. What I don't even know what city that was. That I visited you in. Where was Fishburne?
It was in Waynesboro, Virginia, about half an hour west of Charlottesville. That's about the closest bigger city to it.
Yeah, but you got good Chinese there.
We got great Chinese food.
And then he was at Young Harris under Pete Herman, who's a legend, who's been on here before. And then now he's at West Florida. He's assistant at West Florida. He's been assistant on the Division I level, on the Division II level, at a prep school. And so Brian has been very successful. He is very loyal. He is a hard worker. Brian, we're gonna spend the next little bit, and you're gonna help young coaches, like the keys to being a great assistant. And I know we all want to move up, but talk to us really. What are your keys? You think? Because you've won championships. You went to the NCAA tournament there at West Florida. You helped Pete start something really cool at Young Harris. Tell us some keys about being a great assistant.
Well, I think there's a couple that really stand out. One of the first ones really doesn't have anything necessarily to do with basketball as more as yourself. Is you got to be unbelievably appreciative and humble of any opportunity that you get. A guy I used to work for, he told me that if you left coaching, there'd be about 1,000 people that would want your job in about 3 seconds. So, every job is precious. Every job is fun. You're working with young people. So you got to be appreciative and humble. From a work side of it, you got to.
But hold on a second. What if you're not Division I? Do you still have to be appreciative?
Yes, because a GA at an NAI school is very hard to get. A Division I assistant is very hard to get, and it doesn't matter what level, what position. It could be an assistant, head coach. It could be a support staff role. Coaching basketball is such a competitive and yet unique business and it's really special. There's not a lot of it's a very unique fraternity, and there's different levels of the fraternity, but it's such a special business, and don't take it for granted.
Well, that's why I think young coaches need to understand. Coaching's coaching. If you want to be in college coaching's a wide variety of different levels. I worked for Jeff Lebo, and guys would go ask Dean Smith, "Hey, Coach, can you get me a college job?" He's like, "Yeah, there's an assistant at Cali County Community College. You're going to be living in the dorms, eating in the cafeteria, and you'll make $500 a month." No, I was talking about like a college, that is a college job, and it's called paying your dues. And so I think that's a great start for this. Is it doesn't matter. It's like, we get mad at players who just want to play Division I, right? So you're like, I'm a D1 guy. I don't want to look. It's the same thing as coaches.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be an assistant there. I want to be an assistant D1. Well, how about earning your way to that opportunity, or how about just being appreciative of where you are? And so I think that's a great starting point. Well done.
And I think kind of tacking on to that, you got to be patient. You got to be patient. Look, there's not a direct way. 11 years ago when I started this, I said, okay, there's going to be a direct path. I'm going to do this for a year at North Georgia, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to move up this way. And as I got older, and as you always say, you get wiser, you realize that there's no direct path. Just make it your own path and be patient. Sometimes it comes quicker for guys. Sometimes it's a stretch. Sometimes guys don't ever get there. But you just got to be patient with it, and it'll happen. Just like you said, keep grinding away and got to keep working at it.
Well, my mentor, Alan LaForce, who is, besides my mentor, one of my heroes and really an acting father for me, is 85 years old, living in Rock Hill, South Carolina right now. We actually had him on earlier. But Alan LaForce did not get his first head Division I coaching position until he was 55 years old. So you talk about a grind. So I don't, we all feel sorry for ourselves, and we all feel like, man, we just can't get a break. Well, keep grinding, and something good will happen. And it happened to him, and it's going to happen to you. And all right, keep rolling with some thoughts.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest keys is, as an assistant, is you've got to be unbelievably enthusiastic. Around your players, around your coaching staff. I just think that as an assistant, your job is to infuse energy into the program. You're going to follow your head coach's lead, but you've got to be really enthusiastic, I think. I think that's so key because I think, look, every player is not going to have a great day. Every head coach is not going to have a great day. But if you can bring some enthusiasm and inject that into the people in the program, that just it may change the way a practice is going. It may change the way one of your players' days is going. But you just got to be unbelievably enthusiastic, I think.
Well, I don't know if we've told this story or not. I'm getting older. I can't remember. We were heading back from Austin Peay. It was our second year at East Tennessee State. I've got Jeff Lebo and Ed Howard, our fellow assistants, to me on that bus on the way back. We get beat at Austin Peay. We weren't used to losing. We were miserable. We had to go back to practice back in Johnson City. We drove all morning. Coach DeForest stood up. He said, "Be on the court in 30 minutes. We're going for 2 hours." We had James Madison and Lefty Drizel the next night. We were miserable. Players were miserable. Coaches were miserable. No one felt like practicing. So Lebo and Ed Howard and myself made a deal. Whoever's the most positive person during practice, fake it if you had to. The other two had to take that coach out to dinner that night, and we were on the floor screaming and yelling and going nutso. Well, it was contagious, and then everybody else started doing it, and we ended up having a 2-hour great practice. Couldn't believe it. Beat JMU the next night by about 30 in Johnson City. And so, well done, young man, because if you can do that, if you can bring it, you're not, as an assistant, you're not allowed to have a bad day. Just suck it up, Buttercup, and bring it, and bring energy every single day. And I wish that players would do that, or the head coach would do that. But I think that's a great point. Bring enthusiasm every day and some positive energy every day. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're fine. You're fine.
That's good stuff.
No, you're good. And I think another key is you got to know who you are. You got to be yourself and know who you are. Look, I work for you. I work for Pete Herman, who you had on earlier. I'm not you. I'm not Pete Herman. I'm going to take things that I learned from you guys, but I'm going to put them into my own personality and be myself. You got to know who you are as a person, know who you are as a coach. Just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody who you aren't. I just think that's really important in developing your personality as a coach, and I think that will help you. That will help shape you one day as a head coach.
I agree.
But you've got to be yourself.
All right, roll with it.
Okay, you got to know the pulse of the players. Okay, as an assistant coach, you got to know what's going on with the players in their personal lives, on the basketball court. You've got to just have an idea of what's going on, because at the end of the day, you're kind of you're kind of a link between the head coach and them. Yes, the head coach is going to be involved, but one of the things I've tried to make a point of is have some daily interaction with every player every day. It's hard. It's a challenge. You can't always come see you in the office, but whether it's a text message, whether it's a phone call, whether it's come stop by the office, say hello for a few minutes, just so you got an idea, okay, maybe Johnny's not having a great day, in his personal life. Maybe I need to relay that message to Coach. Hey, Coach, just giving you a heads up, Johnny's having a tough day, just so we know, what's going on in practice, and that way you kind of get a better feel for him. I just think it's so important as an assistant. You got to have a great pulse on what's going on with your players.
Preseason, postseason, fall and spring, summer, what's your thought there? Give us some thoughts.
I think it's just kind of year round, and I think it changes on what you got to know of what's going on. I think obviously in the preseason and during the season, you've really got to have a handle on it, because that's what they're really working for. That's what they're really working for. Postseason, summer, it's more about development. It's more about how can we get better? How can we, what can we do to better ourselves to help better the program? And what can we do to better them individually? So I think it just changes throughout the different times of the year. But I think you always got to have a pulse on them. It's just a matter of what you're learning about, what you're dealing with each time of the year.
I, you know, think about that also, uh, because we've got high school coaches listening. Also, think about that same concept. How would you do it in high school? Just curious.
Well, high school it's a little bit easier because most high school coaches are working in some capacity at the school, so it's a little bit easier to be around them on a daily basis. You could walk the halls and probably run into two or three players in between your classes, just knowing their schedule. But you know, I understand it's a little bit different because obviously they're not staying on campus. They're out of there at 3:30. Especially after the season, they're out of there. They're doing, whether it's baseball or another club, or they're doing something different. But you've got a little bit more of an opportunity. Go to the lunchroom, go to the cafeteria when three or four of you guys are on lunch period. Go sit down with them for 5 minutes. Just say hello to them. But just do little things like that throughout the day. Again, I think it's a little bit easier because you are in that same building with them for most of the afternoon.
I think you're right. If you can just go up and visit with them, don't talk about basketball. Talk about what they want to talk about. Talk about their life. Just see on them, check on them. Make sure that they know that you give a rip about them besides just being a player. It ain't a rush job. It's just a very genuine. Just go by, pat them on the back, tell them you love them, tell them they're having a good day. Have a good day, and that you're there for them. All right, good points, really good points, and really pretty solid on all levels.
I think another thing too is you got to listen more than talk. I think you got to listen more than talk, and I think that kind of coincides with being a lifelong learner. You know, there's guys that have done this a lot longer than me, and they're still learning. I've done this 11 years, and I still don't know a ton. I'm still learning every day, and part of that is you got to listen. You got to just be a great listener. Look, you know, the guys I've worked for, they have done this for a long time. Every one of my last three or four head coaches has been coaching for over 30, 40 years. So just listen more than talk. And you got to pick your spots when you're coaching and when you're jumping in there, but listen, because a lot of the guys that you work for have probably forgotten more basketball than you've learned. So I just think it's so important to always be wanting to learn, always wanting to listen, and, don't be closed off to certain ideas and concepts, things of that nature. Because I just think you learn so much by listening more than talking.
Well, I'm going to throw two examples real quick. Kevin Eastman, who's pretty good at what he does, and
He's not bad.
Kevin Eastman came to the academy and spoke for us last year at our big coaches clinic. Sat there and took note after note after note after note. We went to dinner the night before with Seth Greenberg and Fran Frischella. Eastman never said a word. He listened and told me the next day. I was like, "You were quiet last night at dinner." He said, I know. I listened, and I went back and took notes on what you guys talked about. And I'm trying to learn. And then Mike Dunlap, who was the head dadgum coach of the Charlotte Bobcats, NBA head coach, who's at LMU now, comes to Jay Billis's coach's deal. You'll see him up there, Brian. And he'll sit in the back and take note after note after note. He won't say a word. I was like, "Coach, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm learning." I was like, "You got to be kidding me." I was scared to death talking in front of him. And so good point. You got two times more opportunities to listen than talk because you got two ears and one mouth. Shut up and listen on occasion. I need to hear that myself. All right, go ahead.
Well, no, and I think you can kind of tack along with that, personal development. Get out, do, I remember, I think it was either our second or my last year with you. You had all of us go out and meet with a different coaching staff of a different. It doesn't matter what level. It could be Division I, Division II. On the women's side, you had all of us go out and spend a day, spend some hours, just meeting with a different coaching staff, and learn something new. Learn something you're weak in. Learn something you're really good in and want to get better. So I think kind of going along with that lifelong learning and listening. Get out, get out once in a preseason, get out once in a postseason, and go visit with somebody. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a friend. It can be a complete stranger. So many coaches, they want to share. They want to share. They want to help people get better. They want to learn too. So go out and visit. I remember you sent me down. I went down to Florida State and met with Stan Jones, and we talked just about defense, just about man-to-man defense, just about ball screen defense. Because I know that was a big part of our defensive game planning, was learning how to guard ball screen. So that was what I wanted to go learn. I wanted to go, if I can help our program at Chattanooga get 1% better by doing that, I've helped us get better. So go out and visit with other people and learn. Like I'm hoping this summer I get to go up to Illinois. I want to learn about Brad Underwood, what they do offensively, just something like that. I mean, go out and do something that gets you and your program better.
Well, when you accidentally do that, you're accidentally making connections and contacts along the way. And so,
Absolutely.
You're just spreading your relationship world. So, all right, go on, move on.
I think attention to detail as an assistant, and this is more obviously as you get into the basketball part, I think attention to detail is so important. And that can be with your scouting report. That can be when you're recruiting a kid, knowing all the details about that. That can be about you're teaching a drill. I mean, it may be a simple chest pass drill. You better know every detail that goes into it, and tell them why. Don't just say let's do it. Tell them why. And I think that kind of that coincides with attention to detail. You got to know everything. I think that's just so important, and it'll help you as a coach get better. It'll help you for when you're a head coach. But paying as much attention to detail as possible is just so important. I'll never forget my first game at Young Harris working for Coach Herman. We're playing Kentucky Wesleyan. You were at that game.
I remember.
And they were unbelievable. And it was the first ranked game that Young Harris had played. And I mean, they had just monsters out there. We ended up winning a great game. And I'll never forget the scouting report after the game. Coach Herman and I were talking, and he says, you missed a couple things. I said, what I missed, Coach? He says, you need to, I want you to know what hand Dominique Dawson tipped the ball with on the opening tap so we can try and steal it. I mean, just little things like that I'm like, man, I don't know anything. So, I mean, just little things like that. And you gotta go and work with your head coach on what he wants. But I mean, just attention to detail on everything that you could possibly imagine, I think, is just so important as an assistant coach.
All right, I love it. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Does the assistant coach need to have a planner? Does he? It drives me crazy. But I'm old school. That when I'm talking and someone's taking notes, they take notes on their phone, and they're on their phone. I feel like they're daggum texting somebody else on the phone while I'm talking. And so I don't know. Do young assistants, they need to have a planner? They need to. I mean, what do they need to do? You tell me.
Absolutely. No, they do, and absolutely. And I'm at 33 years old, I guess you would consider me in the young generation and the all the phone technology and stuff. And I know I need it for work, but I'm like you. I got to have a planner. I've got a daily calendar, daily planner I keep in my bag, and it goes with me essentially wherever I go. I want to write it down. That way I know it's there. I won't forget it because I go look at it every day. But you have got to be unbelievably organized, and again, having a planner, however you do it, whether it's a planner, whether it's an electronic planner, which again, I'm old school in that thought. I like to have everything written down, but you got to be unbelievably organized. And I think for college guys, especially when it comes to recruiting, you forget one little detail, it may cost you a kid. And it may be the smallest detail, but it may be a really, really important detail. I've got a template that we use for our kids here. Every time, once we kind of make that initial phone call, I'll go in and I'll write down everything we talked about. There's different categories for who's important to the recruit, who his coaches were, what he wants to major in. I mean, you name it, it's on there. I've got that for my head coach. We talk to him a second time. There's something new that comes up in a conversation, we'll go back and add it. I mean, I just think paying attention to detail is key. And again, for young guys in the college ranks, recruiting, I just can't stress how important the attention to detail is there.
All right. Give us a couple more.
you know, I think you got to be well rounded. And how do you do that? Tell your head coach your dreams and goals. I mean, some guys are known as recruiters, some guys are known as, X's and O guys, but, let your head coach know, hey, I want more. I want to be you. So how can I be you? Give me more responsibility. And I know at different levels, certain guys have that type of stuff. I mean, I know when I was at Young Harris, it was just me and Coach Herman, so a lot of things fell to me. When I was with you at Chattanooga, we had 5 different people on staff, so the stuff was broken up. But I think what was so great was working with you is I told you I wanted to be a coach, so you gave me as much as I could handle within the scope of my responsibilities. And I think that's helped me as I've progressed on in different positions, is being more well-rounded. Going from you to Fishburne, I had an idea of how to do a scouting report. You and I sat there and did the Davidson scout my last year. I had an idea how to coach because you put me on the floor in in camp situations with our elite camp. You had me out there teaching. You had me on the road that one summer, so I was prepared. So you got to be well-rounded. And again, I think if your head coach knows that you want to be better, then that's only going to help you. So tell them your dreams and goals. Tell them what you want, because I just think that helps you at the end of the day.
Love it. Love it.
I think this is so important too. Is you got to have balance in your life. Basketball consumes us, and we get so into the thrill and the rush of trying to win games and win championships. Is you got to have balance. I mean, you got a family. Make sure you're spending time with them. One thing that we do in our house is anytime I've got a recruit, coming on a visit to campus, I prearrange my day before they get there. I'm taking my family to lunch because I know that I'm not going to see them at night. I'm not going to get to put my son down to go to bed, but I'm going to make sure I spend that good hour and a half with him, and get that part of my life in. I think just having a balance with your family, and I know you're huge on that, Coach, it's so important. And don't be one of those coaches that has a rough family life because you're married to the job.
Well, the problem is on your deathbed, I don't think anybody wishes they'd won one more game. I don't think at that moment, because some guys on their deathbed are by themselves. I don't think you want to be laying there by yourself, and being a hugely successful coach and you got nobody around you. Don't lose people along the way. Bring them with you. And so on, at that moment of your life, at the end of your life, there should be a room full of people, not like zero. And so you're right, and we get screwed up along the way, and our goals change, and we gotta be urgent, and we gotta be so motivated. Listen, man, I mean, you can do it. There's enough time in the day. Take them with you. We as an assistant, it's a little harder. I will say that, but you better make time. And you better pick and choose. I will say this: you better pick and choose wisely. Are you willing to take any job, or are you willing to take a job as an assistant with a guy who really values family and values the right thing? Are you willing, or are you going to take a job as an assistant with a guy who's in the office till 11 o'clock, and you're going to be in the office till 11 o'clock, and you're newly married, and you got a brand new baby, and you never see your child, and then all of a sudden your wife's freaking out, and then all of a sudden that doesn't work, and now what do you got? And it's a tough balance, but I think you make a great point.
As you say, it's so important. I think that helps you as a coach. I mean, I think you're at peace if you've got that balance. You can go into the office and feel good about, being in there, not having to stress about, what's going on back at the house. So just having that balance is just so important. So important. One that I think is that I've learned as I've gotten older is, think like your head coach. And that comes with scouting. It comes with recruiting. It comes with practice. Think like your head coach, not like think like your head coach, because at the end of the day, you're serving your head coach who, trying to run the program. So you got to think like him, in recruiting. We got X amount of scholarships to fill every year. and we sit down in a recruiting meeting and we go over what we need positionally, then I start thinking, okay, what does my head coach want? Not what I want as a player. What does he want as a player? Because it may be, there may be different things, but at the end of the day, it's your head coach's program. You got to think like a head coach. And of course, you're going to go in there and you're going to have discussions about, well, what about this guy, coach? And maybe there's a little bit of a difference in opinion. But, at the most part, you got to think like your head coach when it comes to, everything involved with the program, because it's his program.
Well, let's go to college real quick. If you don't know what your head coach, if you don't know what type of kid your head coach can coach, then you're exactly right. I mean, I would admit right now I have a man crush on Rick Byrd. I love Rick Byrd. And if I'm working for Rick Byrd and I try to go out and get a kid that's got red flag after red flag, it ain't gonna work. He can't coach him. He can coach the guy. He can coach the guy who's a purist and loves the game and was going to go to class every single day without being told to do it and do all the right things. That's the guy he can coach. So I think you're right. I think you got to know who you're working for, who he can coach, what he wants, when he wants it. What information does he want in the game? Are you driving him crazy in the game? What information does he want at halftime? There's a fine line. There's a fine line to be a great assistant. And you are there. My thoughts are you are there for him, and you are for him, and you're there to help him win, period. And you're there to help in any way possible. If it's not your idea, suck it up. It's going to be his idea, and you're going to have to do whenever you leave that daggum room. You may have a difference of opinion, but you better be 150,000 million % behind your head coach, because kids, as we all know, kids read you like a book. They read your body language. All of a sudden, the head coach starts another kid, and those kids are looking at you as an assistant. Man, you look a little funny, like, I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea why he's doing it. Then that's just going to split your team and divide everything. So I like your point. All right, move on. That's good stuff, Brian.
I think, just kind of from you got to know the rules, and you got to know the rule changes every year. The game's changed, the rules have changed. I mean, even if it's something as simple as, the coach's box, how, where can your head coach go? I mean, just know because one day you're trying to be a head coach, so you got to know the rules. And I think that it's just so important as an assistant. Like for me, one of the things the adjustments we made a few years ago is, when they cut the timeouts and they did them, they made the medias within 30 seconds of the media. I mean, it was a little adjustment, but that was one of my responsibilities in the games. I had to know that. So you got to know all the rules. You got to know all the rules changes. And if you don't know, ask. Don't make a mistake because you think you know. Make sure you know, because I can promise you, getting called into the head coach's office because you made a mistake and it's going to cost you, that's not a lot of fun. So make sure you know the rules. Make sure you know the rules changes. Like I said, it changes every year. There'll be changes this summer. There'll be changes next summer. You just got to keep always have an idea of the different changes that are going on in the game.
Got it.
I think this is so important. Is you've got to be honest. You've got to be honest with your players. You've got to be honest with your head coach. You've got to be honest with everybody that you're dealing with. I think, and kind of going back to what you said, Coach, about kids can read you. People can read you too, and if you're not honest, they'll see right through you. So, and sometimes, it's like we tell our players, we're going to be honest with you. You may not like it sometimes, but we're going to be honest because we think it's in the best interest of our program and for you. But I think just as an assistant, you have got to be honest with in everything you do, with everybody you deal with. I just think that's so important.
Kids, good. Listen, I'm just going to tell you this. Good players want, Kevin Eastman was talking about it one night. Pro players demand you being honest. They want honest feedback. Why? Because they want to make more money. They want you to exactly tell them what they need to work on and where they're lacking so they can go work on it so they can make more money. That's the highest level player there are out there. And so I don't know why we wouldn't be honest with the kids that we're coaching. Really good players want you to be honest with them. They don't want you to blow smoke. I got a great concept. This is really unique. When you recruit, why don't you be honest? Why don't you be honest with the kids that you're recruiting to let them know where they fit in? You know, I really firmly believe that there's 800 to 900 transfers every year from Division One because coaches aren't being honest. Hey, man, I see you coming in and playing immediately. And, I mean, and then they get there and they don't, you know, you remember the old thing that, you know, you recruit them and you kiss their tail and then you get them on campus. You gotta de-recruit them and you got to make
Yep.
Well, that's stupid.
Yep.
I mean, that's why there's so many transfers. Why would you, if you blow smoke up their tail and you get them, and then as soon as you get them, everything changes, you got issues.
Well, one of the things, it's so funny you brought that point up, Coach, is one of the things that I've done over the years and started doing this when I got back on the road, you know, when I would, you know, I'd make contact with the kid. I'd get the information on the front end from his high school or his AAU coach or his junior college coach, and then I'd make contact with the kid, introduce myself, go through the particulars, and then I tell every single kid I talk with, I tell them, look, I said, one thing about me and our program, I'm going to be upfront with you with everything we talk about. And why is that? Because you know, at the end of the day, this is about trust. It's about relationships. And if I'm just blowing smoke, as you mentioned a second ago, if I'm just blowing smoke to get you to come to a Young Harris, to a West Florida, to a Chattanooga, if I'm just blowing smoke and you're coming because of that smoke, when you get there and that smoke's not there, well, Coach, I thought you said we were going to do this, we were going to get this. That relationship and that trust, you can forget it.
Yep,
it's done.
Over. It's
done.
Absolutely, it's over.
So I tell every single kid that I recruit since I've been doing this, I tell them that. The very first phone conversation we have. And then I tell the parents the same thing. So that way there's no misunderstanding. You know, here's who, you know, I tell them here's who we are, here's what we do, here's how we do it, and here's why we do it. And here's how that's going to help you. So I just think, you know, that there's no, like you said, there's no reason to be dishonest, especially when it comes to that type of thing. So, I just don't believe in that.
So go to high school. A high school assistant coach, it's the same thing. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to be honest. Be honest with the kids. Let them know, you know, but you're going to have to be a little softer about being a little bit about being honest. And you got to be careful. I would say assistant coaches in high school, you got to be very careful about being too honest with parents. You know, I would probably refrain from having too many conversations with parents about that. All right, go on. Assistant coaches, go on. Let's hear it.
You know, I think a word that kind of just describes the mentality is relentless. You got to be relentless. You got to be relentless in whatever part of the job you're doing, whether it's recruiting, whether it's watching film and breaking film down, whether it's, you know, dealing with academics. You got to be relentless, because if you know, we're talking to our players all the time about going hard and about doing things the right way and bringing it every day. If we're not doing the same thing, you know, well, Coach, you're not working nearly as hard. You know, you're telling us to go hard. No, that you got to be relentless in your approach. And again, I go back to what we talked about with balance and having balance in your life and not being in the office till 11 o'clock. You know, you can do that and still be relentless in your approach. But I just think as an assistant, if you approach it with a relentless mindset, you'll get so much done in that given day or that given task, you know, whatever it is you're doing, that it's just only going to add value to your program. It's going to add value to your head coach. It's going to make you better.
I like the word urgent. Be urgency with your work.
Yep.
And going back and remember, we're just trying to help. You know, we don't know it all. We're just trying to help young assistants or assistant coaches. You know, go back to the planner. have a plan of action when you walk in the daggum office every single day. Have a plan. Have written down. Don't sit there and get on your daggum computer and surf the web and try to, and watching YouTube video. Have a plan of action. What's the first thing you're going to do? What are the 5 to 10 things you have to accomplish? Whether it be as an assistant in high school is different, as an assistant in college is different, as an assistant, doesn't matter really what level of college, it's all going to be different. But have a plan of action and get your crap done and bring value, like you said, bring value to your head coach and bring value to the program. All right, go on.
I think this one is kind of unique, and it's I learned this, and I'll be honest, I can't remember where I saw it, but have a board of directors. What do I mean by that? Have a group of guys that are mentors, that are guys, that those are your guys that you can call whenever, what time of night, what time of day, whatever it is. Those are your guys, and preferably guys that have been in it longer than you, because I just think having that network and having that, like I said, a board of directors, just people you can trust, that they're going to help you, and they may not help you with basketball time. They may help you in life. I just think having a board of directors, filled with guys, and it can be 3 guys, it can be 5 guys, it can be 10 guys, whatever it is. But have a board of directors of people that you can go to. I'll give you an example. There may be a situation happening, that you're not comfortable at that moment going to your head coach about. All right, who on your board of directors has been a head coach and maybe has been in that situation? Call them up. Say, hey, coach, I got a situation. I know you've probably dealt with this. I want to get your thoughts on it a little bit. So I can be prepared to go talk to my head coach and how to handle it here. I just think having that group of guys that you love and you trust and can help you and will help you is just so important for your development as a coach, because, their suggestions may help you make a great decision for your program. So I just think that's so important to having a group of guys that you know and trust.
All right, love it.
We talked. You mentioned it. At the beginning of the podcast is loyalty. I mean, you got to be just unbelievably loyal. I just think that will take you so far as an assistant. Your head coach is going to recognize it. He'll recognize it and he'll appreciate it. And your players will appreciate it. Because I just think, again, if you're just showing that undying loyalty to the program, to the kids, to your coach, it's going to pay off. Now
I will say this, and I that was the first thing I had written down. One of your jobs as assistant is to be loyal and to be for your head coach. But I think, loyal is not a puppy dog wagging his tail and sitting there and kissing the head coach's tail and agreeing with everything that's being said. Loyal is going in, being for the head coach. Hey, coach, I really think we need to change how we guard ball screens. I like what we're doing. No, I really, we're getting hurt on it. Bring some stats to back your case, and I really think we could look to change and maybe add something right here. Maybe we need to be doubling ball screens a little bit, and we're just changing up a little bit, and here's why, and show them why. And then at the end of the meeting, he was like, well, I see what you're saying, but we're not going to do it. Well, all right, I got you. And you got to be able to step out of that office and say, hey, man, we're not doubling ball screens, and be very loyal. So I don't think being a yes man, I think you have to be a great assistant to me is to be able to throw some ideas, know your head coach, and throw some ideas at him so you're not, some head coaches are insecure and don't want your ideas. Some of them will handle your ideas. Just know how to present your ideas and your thoughts in a non-threatening way, and then whatever happens. How about that?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, your job is to make, everyone's got job descriptions and job responsibilities as an assistant. And I think the main one is to make the head coach's job easier. I think it all works toward that concept. make his job. And there's some coaches, head coaches, who I know are very hands-on in certain areas where they, maybe do some things that an assistant usually does, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, your job as an assistant is to make the head coach's job easier. Allow him to focus on the things he needs to focus on, which is, obviously during the season, it's practice and game planning and coaching the players and getting ready for the games. But I mean, your job is to make his job much easier. They don't need to be your head coach doesn't need to be dealing with headaches in different areas, whether it's academically. Maybe you as an assistant, you don't need to be giving your head coach, the issues with the compliance department or things of that nature. You don't need to be coming to him with minute tasks. That's your job to clean it up and allow him to focus on what he really needs to be focused on.
Put out the fires before they get to him.
We're crisis management coordinators.
No, it's a good point. Listen, I mean,
crisis management coordinators.
I mean, like tellers at a bank and assistant, any assistant, it doesn't matter whether you're in basketball or whatever. Your job, just to be honest, is to make the head coach look good, make his life easier, his job easier. And if you do that, then you're going to be a head coach one day. And then you become a head coach. What do you want from your assistants? You probably need to look at it the other way. What do you want from your assistants? I want to focus on coaching the team. Well, then you're going to have to be the great recruiter. You're going to have to order all the equipment. There's some head coaches that want to deal with equipment. Most of them don't. And so you're just and I would try to pre-think things. So if you know that all of a sudden you got Davidson coming up, and we're getting ready to play College of Charleston on Thursday or whatever. You may just, hey man, I made a little 2-minute clip for you as soon as the game's over against Charleston. You can look at really what Davidson does real quick, and just trying to be helpful before he asks for it. Already be ready for it. All right, go ahead, a couple more, and then we're out of here.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I think especially young guys, learn how to watch film. I mean, learn how to watch film. What are you watching for? Are you just watching the game? Are you just watching the ball? I mean, learn how to watch film. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to watch a certain game to understand what you're really trying to get out of it. But and I know, I remember I remember after our games at Chat, we sat in there until 2 o'clock in the morning watching the game we just played. And I think when I first started, I'm like, what are we doing? I'm trying to process this and learn how to watch film. And then as we started doing that more, and we started learning, and I started learning, okay, this is what coach is looking for. This is why coach is so upset in the game, because we didn't double the post, right when the ball left his hands. We were late. And I'm thinking to myself, well, coach, you're there. We got a turnover, but that's not what you want. So I'm trying to learn how to watch film through the head coach's eyes. So learn how to watch film. I just think it's so important. And, as coaches, we watch film on opposing teams. We watch film on ourselves. We watch film on teams that aren't even in our league. Maybe we're trying to learn something. But learn how to watch film the right way. Take notes. And again, understand exactly, what you're looking for in that regard.
We had Doug Brotherton on a couple weeks ago and talking about fast model. If I'm an assistant coach, when I was an assistant, all I did, I had a little black book. And I said, when I become a head coach, I'm going to do this. And so I would just start jotting everything down in my little black book. I kept it all the time with me. Every stop I made, it was in my office. And so, your goal as an assistant coach, most assistant coaches want to be a head coach. And so start preparing. Coach DeForest would tell me, he said, I prepared every day to be a head coach. So when you become one, you're ready for that. And so start jotting down ideas, what you like, what you don't like. When you become a head coach, and that's everybody's dream. Most everybody's dream is you're an assistant coach. I would throw, it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Brian. Get so knowledgeable. Get knowledgeable. You're talking about watching games a certain way. You don't watch a basketball game as a fan. I don't watch a game for enjoyment. Now, maybe a game 7 of what the NBA is going on with the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, that's enjoyment.
Right.
But you're sitting here thinking, I forgot who had the ball. Like maybe Denver had the ball late yesterday on Sunday, and there were 29 seconds on the shot clock, and they're down 3. What are you going to do? You thinking, I just don't watch the game. I just don't watch the game for pure fun. Learn to watch the game. Put yourself in that moment on what you would do as a coach in that moment. So you're always thinking, and I just think as an assistant coach, you got to be so knowledgeable. So I think you make a good point about how to watch tape and just trying to get better. A couple more and we're out.
Okay. I'm going to tack on to that a little bit. And it kind of goes to it. I keep a pen handy all the time. It's something very simple. Keep a pen because, here's a quick one. This is just a quick reason why I keep a pen. We had a recruit on campus the other night. We're out eating dinner. We're watching the Bucks and the Celtics. And, I saw a great set that I love that Boston ran out of transition. And something similar to some of the things that we do at West Florida. I mean, a great set. And I'm not going to walk around with a notebook. We got a recruit on campus. There's a napkin. We're at the dinner table. There's a napkin. I just wrote the set down. And now I'm going to go back and stick it in our files for next year. But, I mean, keep a pen. It's simple. Keep a pen. You never know when you're going to need to write something down that's going to help you as a coach.
Hey, do you mind sending me, like, faxing me that or emailing me that set so I don't have to worry?
I don't think so. I don't think so this time.
All right. Good enough.
Yep.
A couple last ones. What your most important thoughts about really, in theory, what you got to do to be a great assistant to help your head coach?
I'll leave this one here and then just kind of put a bow on it. Focus on your current job. And that's hard. That's hard sometimes because everyone has the dreams and goals of moving up, and you talked about it early on in the podcast. Focus on your current job because that job will help you move up. If you're not doing a great job at the job you're in, then you got no prayer to move up. Focus on the job that you're in. Wrap your arms around the job. Throw yourself into it 110%. And then just see what happens. Be patient. But you have got to just completely engross yourself, in the job you're in. Make every day, and you hear it all the time. Guys say, make your job the Kentucky or the Duke of where you are, and you got to do that. Whether it's mid-major assistant, whether it's Division II assistant, whether it's high school assistant, junior, whatever it is, whatever level, just wrap yourself completely in that job you're in. Do the best you can, and then you'll be surprised at the end of the day what happens.
Well, they say be where your feet are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's be where you are and be present where you are. I would tell you this. Kentucky's got 15 players on their team, right? And
yep.
And they're, they probably got 6 or 7 McDonald's All-Americans. They got 6, 7 going to the league, but they got 15 dudes on their team. And that's what Calipari and John Robick and Justice and those guys got to deal with, those 15 guys. How many guys you got on your team at West Florida?
We got 14.
You got 14 dudes on your team. All right. Are those 14 guys, do they not want the same care and knowledge and coaching that Calipari's guys got?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Okay.
I think there's
no
doubt.
And then in high school, Pensacola Christian School over there, where you at? Do those guys? How many guys they got on their varsity team? Probably 15. Do those
15,
guys
yep.
not deserve the same treatment that Calipari and Joel Justice and Robick give their guys, and that you and Coach Burkhammer give your guy? The middle school basketball team, the elementary school. It doesn't matter what level you are, assistant coaches. Give whatever you got to give to your program and to those kids, because it ain't about the level. Man, it ain't about the level at all. And kids thinking about the level. We're the adults here. It's not about the level. It's about the experience that the kids are having. And we have the right, the gift, the privilege to make an impact on young kids. It doesn't matter It doesn't matter. The next thing that those kids do is not going to ask them if they play D1 or D2 or D3 or any. It's going to be, can they get to the job on time? Do they treat their wife great? Do they worry about their kids? Do they take care of their kids? What are they like as a person? We've got to do a better job as coaches, whether it be head coaches or assistant coaches, making sure. And assistant coaches got such a better. I remember Lebo telling me when I wanted to be a head coach, he went, "You're not going to be able to have relationships with those players as you did as an assistant." Right, wrong, maybe, I don't know, maybe. But the deal is, assistant coaches have the opportunity to have amazing relationships with those kids. And so value that. No matter what level, they're still kids. They're boys or girls. They just want to play ball, and they just want to be loved, and they just want to be coached. And Brian Benator, you do a great job doing that. You invest in the people, and your time's coming. Hopefully your time's coming soon, because I don't want you in the same league as me as I change a little bit and make a different move. But you do a wonderful job investing in the people. And
I appreciate that.
Those kids care, and you work extremely hard to make your boss being able to cut down those nets like you did a couple years ago. And hopefully you won't cut down any more nets as I make my journey into your league.
Well, that'll be fun.
I just got great respect for you, because you care about people, you care about the bosses you work for, and you make them better, and you make their life easier, because you bust your tail in, and you grind away. And I appreciate your time this morning, and thank you for joining 720 and 720.
I appreciate you having me. Always good to talk to you. You know how much I think about you and your family, so I appreciate it so much.
Brian, I think we helped some young coaches today. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach.